first episode today, I'm very excited to be focusing on the school system of Brevard County and the many issues that we're dealing with at this time. And our first guest for the day is Michelle Beavers.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. So you, as I understand, are a member of the Brevard chapter of Moms for Liberty.
Yes.
And also the chair of the library committee.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about the library committee. What do you do there?
So the library committee was formed because I went into a SAC meeting at my son's school. And on display, as soon as you walk in the library, was a number of books that I was concerned about. But the most eye-opening book that I saw there was a book called Genderqueer. And it has very graphic pictures of oral sex in it. And that was concerning to me in the junior high school setting. So we're talking kids as young as 12 years old looking at these pictures. So from that concern grew this club where we decided that we would look at books. I gathered members in our group and started a library committee. And what we do is we look at the books based on, right now, just what kind of sexual content it has. And we document that. We don't just say we think it's bad. What we do is we look for the actual passages that are concerning, or in some cases pictures. With that particular book, that was a graphic novel, so there was all kinds of pictures there. There weren't a huge amount of pictures like that of caliber, but in my opinion, one in a book is enough that it shouldn't be there. It was definitely very graphic, and it had other pictures too that were inappropriate. So what we do is we look at the books, we document the passages that are concerning, and we share those passages with the school board. And the school board then has the opportunity to do what they call an informal review, where they send those complaints or requests for review, we call it a book challenge, to the individual libraries that have that book. And at that point, the librarian can look at the book and use her knowledge that she was trained with to decide, does that book belong in our library, or should that book be taken out of our library?
How many locations or how many institutions have you found books like these in?
All of the schools, all of the junior high and high schools have had some of these books in them. We've put in 41 books that we're concerned about. Only 11 of them have reached the level of going to the school board level for challenge. So we haven't put in more because at the current pace, it's going to take them years to get to those 11. So we're hoping that something changes and they change the process they're doing, because meanwhile those books are still on the shelves. Now, not that book. That book was so horrible, immediately the school board took it off the shelves. There was no process, there was nothing, it was that bad.
Regarding the slow process that you mentioned, I've heard a little bit about that. Perhaps you could shed a little bit more light. From what I understand, they're only required to read in the review process something like 100 pages a month, I believe it is?
I don't remember the exact, but it was 100 pages. I thought it was a week, but I'm not 100% sure anymore. I think it was a week, and they have so long to finish each book. So if I give them a 300-page book, we're not going to expect them to finish the same time as maybe an 800-page book. So there's a little bit of difference. That's what the pages are for. But they have so many weeks to get the book to the committee, so many weeks for them to read the book, then have a meeting, and then the process. So every book has a little bit different timeline, but it's taking usually months to get each book done.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that those librarians are stepping up to that task. I know it's going to be near impossible for them to have seen every book in the library without them being brought to their attention. So it sounds like a valuable service.
Yeah, and our laws are set up that they don't get in trouble if they don't know, right? So when we provide the materials, then they're able to know what's in that book, and then they can either choose to pull it and read the whole thing, or they can look at the material and say, yeah, that's really a little bit too graphic for our students in our schools.
So you're not just complaining, you're partnering with them and doing the work.
We're trying to. We're making it as easy as possible to say, look, this is what we're concerned about. This is the page number. This is the passage. We have somebody in our group read that book. Now, I might put the challenge in, but somebody has read it. So it doesn't go unread, and that's a large concern about some people who are concerned about this. We're not reading the book. Well, somebody is. We don't all need to read the book in order to put the challenge in. Just one person needs to read the book, document what they're finding, and then it's up to a committee to decide, or a librarian, if it's at the librarian level, to decide if that book belongs in our library.
Why is it that the person who reads a particular book that believes it needs reporting isn't the one that makes the report?
Well, that's a really good question. And that answer would be because I protect my people. Everybody who helps with the library book committee doesn't need to put their name out there. I'm the one who takes the hits. I'm the one who gets the harassment. I've had people put my address out online, publish it several times. I've had people request everything that I've ever put onto the school board and use that material to make little videos and things like that about me, the recordings I did at the DOE. If only one person needs to take the hit for that. We don't all need to stand up and have the hit. So I'm that person. And they can do the other work, I can take the hit, and then I can get help. Because if you have to come and face everybody with this material and take ridicule, you're less likely to do it. So if one person stands up and does it, then you can get people to help.
So it's a preventative measure for intimidation.
Right, because people don't want to put their name out there. They don't mind helping, but then you've got, a boss who's unhappy about it, or a friend who's unhappy about it. I actually have teachers who help me, but they're completely anonymous, and I would never give up their confidences, because that's what my promise is to my group.
So these books that we're talking about, where are they coming from? We're having these books, they're in access to children in the libraries, and they're obviously, several of them obviously shouldn't be. So how are they getting there in the first place? Who's approving that? Who's to be held responsible?
So obviously you're not going to have the same librarian forever. So some of the books may have already been on the shelf before a librarian got in the library. Some of the books are actually given free. It's when these librarians order books, they get their books, but sometimes they get like a load of free books. And librarians only have so much time in the day like anybody else. That's why we consider ourselves a good resource for the school system, because they can't check out children, reshelve books, repair books, worry about chasing kids down to return their books, all that stuff, and read every book that comes in that library. That's a big task.
So in some cases, you don't know how long it's even been there.
Correct. Yeah, there's books like that we're finding that have been there a long time, but a librarian may not be aware of it because she can't read every book. Sure. And the books, they're also, what they're supposed to do is vet the books by finding 3 different reviews for these books. But we all know that you can find 3 good reviews for just about anything. Like Amazon will even give you credit and things like that for certain stores if you give them reviews. So you can always, and publishers are going to give good reviews to their own books, right? So you can always find good reviews out there. The problem is that even the book that I mentioned that was very graphic, I looked at the reviews that some of these librarians would look at. It doesn't really tell you what's in that book. It doesn't give you the real truth about what you're going to see in that book.
Sure. That sounds like what your committee has been doing, diving in to find the real contents and see whether or not that's actually appropriate for the children. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for coming on the show with us today. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate the time. Thanks.